Genius. What is your state of being currently? So, I heard this comment, confusion of how do I become, how do I reach the frequency of no time, no space? How do I do all this? How do I get to that state? You see, one of the reasons why people that teach this work, people that have communities, will start off this work with meditations. They'll start off this work teaching different kinds of meditations, right? You can be blessing your chakras, you can be doing breath work, you sit down, you can do Vipassana meditations, which are pretty long. If you're going to temples, there's a big one in Nepal where you can do the Vipassana meditations, or even when you start to do Kriya yoga, you start to observe this, what Michael Singer calls your roommate, right? This inner chatter. It's as if you have this very annoying best friend that you can never get rid of, and it's always talking. And that's phase one. You need to overcome that person. You need to know when to quiet your roommate, how to do it, right? One of the examples Michael Singer gives in the book Untethered Soul is that imagine that the inner voice comes out of you and give it a body. So now you can observe, you can listen to it, and you can watch it, and you'll soon realize that person is quite annoying, right? And it's as if it's having a conversation, two-way conversation with itself all the time inside of your head. It's really hard to get rid of that. And at the same time, being able to stay in a high state of being in a receptive mode, being in the gratitude state of mind, positivity all the time, being not going unconscious, not going on autopilot, constantly paying attention to every thought, every feeling, every emotion, understanding that you are not the hologram. Everything in the hologram is fighting for your attention. And then there's this roommate inside of your head that is also fighting for your attention, and you're in the middle of it. You're the observer. You're the awareness that is aware of all of this going on. So when you start your meditations, when you do your breath work, you are fixing, or you are fine-tuning yourself to get to a place where you can then take control of your life. You can manifest the realities you want. You can heal yourself. You can stay positive. You can do aura cleansing. You can fix your field. You can upgrade your field. And you are then in charge moving forward, right? You become very kind, very patient. And you can't be in that state of mind unless you first go through the river of change, which is phase one, right? That's why closing eyes, meditation, all this is so important. Sri M, who has a temple in Texas, he once said that when you master this phase, and then you get to the next phase where you can do walking meditation, where you can become aware of things with a quiet roommate, the quiet mind, and you can just simply observe from the place of inner silence, inner peace, inner bliss, right? You have now completely opened the door where the divine and your higher self can now come right through you and give you the beautiful experiences. In fact, I have given this example numerous times in my videos, that when you get into that state of being, phase 2, is where you allow your higher self to come through you and you have a conversation with someone. Sometimes you'll say things that you can't believe you said. It's as if someone else is talking. So it's not just the friend that you're talking to is listening to the higher self speaking. It's also you listening to the higher self and wondering, wow, that was quite impressive. That was quite profound. That was quite deep. There's only one infinite intelligence. When you're in this blissful, generous present moment, in this silence, right? In this emptiness, the silence, which is the base foundation of everything. That's when the divine and supernatural things can happen. So that's phase 2. Phase 1, breath work, meditations. You try to remove the hologram so you can deal with one thing at a time, right? So first you're dealing with the inner roommate. So because your inner roommate is fighting for your attention and your hologram is fighting for your attention, the hologram disappears when you close your eyes and you stay still. And then you're dealing with this one problem, or one challenge rather. I wouldn't call it a problem. The challenge is to quiet your inner roommate. And it makes it even better and easier when you remove your attention from your body, your 3D body, which is technically part of the hologram. When you remove your attention from it and you put it into blackness, when you put it in the empty space, what happens is you also move your consciousness from it and you put your consciousness somewhere else. So the I amness of you will move. Everything is consciousness. Obviously, we all know that. But wherever your attention goes, that point in consciousness displays itself and everything else fades away into the possibilities and waves and everything else. So your I amness can move into the empty place. The I amness can move into astral body, causal body. You have 3 bodies. And when you do that, you can then manifest things a lot easier. You can feel what it's like to be blackness. You can feel what it's like to be everything, right? When you get closer, when you move your consciousness closer and closer into the higher frequency, eventually as close as possible to the source energy, to the pure consciousness, right? As your attention and consciousness, as your attention and aware goes there, so does your consciousness, right? The I amness within the consciousness, not the consciousness, goes there. And that's where you can go outside of space-time. And that's when you play with the energies there, with your intentions, with your desires, the things you would like to experience and do and have, then appear so much faster, including spontaneous remissions, spontaneous healing. People that come with stage 4 cancer to a retreat and they leave with no tumors. It's not that easy to do this, what I just described, right? And then that is all part of phase 2. And then phase 3 is to just be in that state of mind with your eyes open. Sri M, what I was talking to you about is that he was referring to some shamans and the swamis and yogis where they don't need to close their eyes. They can just be in that very deep meditative state with their eyes open as they function around in the world, because they have learned the way to keep those doors open. And they're so present that they are simply the observers, right? So for example, if you walk into a room, instantly the awareness in you has captured everything, including all of the details, the colors, the shapes, the size, right? All of that immediately. But if your inner roommate goes on to describe everything for you, that'll take a long time. But if you're in silence, you not only can observe everything at the same time, you can understand everything at the same time instantly. And one of the ways you can experience that is through these instant downloads of clarity, where spontaneously, some things that you have been thinking about, some things you have been pondering over, some things you have been trying to understand, and you get this moment throughout the day where instantly all of it makes sense. It's this very heavy download. right? Where within a second you understand what otherwise would take someone an hour or 2 or 3 to break it down and make you understand. You just instantly get it. And it came out of nowhere. But you had that blip of openness, allowingness, that receiving-ness in you, that for that brief moment, that door cracked wide open, and your higher self was able to give you a little glimpse of clarity into the things you've been wondering about, because your higher self knows what you're thinking about, right? Quantum, the light that you're constantly emitting into the universe. You're having conversation with the quantum in the universe all the time. Okay, so that's phase 2. So phase 2 is so phase 3 is what Sri Am described, where you maintain that state of being throughout the day. I talk about that in my meditations that are in my community. Dr. Joe talks about that in his meditations. But when you wake up, you open your eyes, you try to maintain a very beautiful silence, observing mode of this receivership, right? This gratitude, this high vibration energy. That if you stay in that mode, if your goal is, I'm going to feel good no matter what is happening around me, I'm going to feel good. Because there's always things in your life that you can feel good about, right? Your health, your children, loved ones, or something that you might have acquired that is giving you a lot of happiness. Then you can just hold on to it, and it gives you this tiny gratitude moment suddenly, right? Doesn't matter what it is. So that is then the final stage where you can live a life that completely is under your control. And you can do that without meditation, with your eyes open. But by that time, you are so in love with meditations that it's part of your life. It is who you are. It is a way of life for you. You know? Then you get into the mystical experience realm. You try to explore how because every mystical experience is different. You're never going to have two mystical experiences that are similar. And yeah, I hope that answers the question. This was a question from YouTube. I hope it made sense. And if you have following questions, please let me know. Comment away, or just write me an email, or DM me on Instagram, and I'll see what I can do. Keep doing the work. There's so much to do. There's so much to experience. There's so much love to not only receive, but to give. The world needs it. More patient people, more kind people. Remember, it takes square root of 1% of the population to start making a change. But it only takes 1% of the population to completely change the collective. There was something I saw from this person who used to work for CIA, and they did these experiments not only with the population but with molecules in a jar, where if 1% of the entire volume in the jar of liquid became coherent, those molecules, if they became coherent energetically, it would change and start expanding coherence across the rest of the 99%, which means if 1% of the population figures out how to do a coherent heart and coherent brain, right? 1% of the population, the rest of the population will become more kind, more patient, full of gratitude. All of that will happen without them even knowing that we did this. So when you are working on your heart coherence and coherence between your brain and your heart, you are not doing this just for you. You're doing this for the collective. You are literally changing the world as you change yourself. Everybody understands and knows that Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. But as cool as that sounds, you don't understand how profound that actually is. That if 1% of the world did this, if 1% of humanity did that, became that coherent, kind and patient, and just energetically just raise your dominant vibration, your threshold for happiness, all of that collectively as your baseline state of being, you change the world. Crimes will go down. People will not get sick anymore. Sick people will heal. All of that will happen with just 1% of the population becoming coherent. Think about it. I hope that motivates you. I hope that it excites you. You know, what an unbelievable way um, to serve the collective just by doing this for you, doing the work. I love you.